Close your eyes. Breathe in deeply. Tonight, we journey into the most unsettling corners of human history. Not to tales of forgotten kings or vanished empires, but to objects, ordinary, tangible objects that shouldn't exist. Artifacts so far ahead of their time, so technologically advanced that they shatter everything we thought we knew about our past. What if our history books are incomplete? What if ancient civilizations possessed knowledge we're only just beginning to rediscover? Or, more chillingly, what if they were given a helping hand from somewhere beyond our understanding? Drift with us as bedtime history uncovers the greatest archaeological paradoxes, the out-of-place artifacts. 1,000 years, a millennium, lost in the shadows. We are taught that this was the Dark Ages, a time of hollow silence, where human intellect supposedly withered and progress stood still in the mud of ignorance. We are told stories of a world without science, without the spark of engineering, a primitive struggle just to see another dawn. But what if that narrative is a lie? A convenient, carefully polished fiction? What if, buried beneath the dust of cathedrals and the heavy dogmas of the past, there lie objects that scream a forbidden truth? I am not talking about myths or legends of old. I am talking about cold, hard metal. Gears, machines, precision tools, artworks of such impossible complexity that they seem to have teleported from a future we are only now beginning to touch. These are the anomalies, the silent witnesses that refuse to be ignored. They do not fit into our neat, linear timelines. They shatter the mirrors of our history books. Was there a hidden peak in human intelligence that we've forgotten? Or was there a guiding hand, a shadow moving behind the curtain of time, whispering secrets to the ancients that we were never meant to know? Close your eyes and drift deeper. Tonight, we don't just look at the past. We question the very foundations of who we are. Welcome to the Great Paradox. Our journey begins in 1901, off the jagged coast of the Greek island Antikythera. Sponge divers, plunging into the dark, freezing depths, stumbled upon a ghost from the past, a shipwreck, rotting in the silence since the 1st century BCE. Among the marble statues and shattered pottery, they found it, a corroded, calcified lump of bronze. At first, it looked like nothing, a discarded piece of junk. But as the decades passed and X-rays pierced through the corrosion, a terrifying truth emerged. This was no ordinary relic. It was an analog computer. The Antikythera mechanism. Imagine, more than 2,000 years ago, someone handcrafted over 30 bronze gears, some as thin as a modern coin. Each tooth, each wheel, machined with a precision that defies everything we know about the ancient world. It didn't just tell time, it predicted the heavens. It tracked the dancing shadows of eclipses, the cycles of the sun, and the heartbeat of the moon for decades into the future. Its complexity was unmatched for another 1,400 years. 1,400 years. How? How did they achieve this? Who taught them the advanced mathematics, the metallurgy, the celestial secrets required to build a device that wouldn't be seen again until the Renaissance? It's as if a piece of the future was dropped into the distant past. A cosmic calculator, still whispering its ancient secrets from a world we thought we understood, but clearly we don't. We drift further east now, leaving the salt-stained depths of the Mediterranean for the golden sands of Iraq. The year is 1936. Near a small, sun-scorched village outside Baghdad, German archaeologist Wilhelm König pulls something from the earth that should not exist. It is a humble object, a clay jar, barely 6 inches tall, sealed with a thick black plug of asphalt. Inside, a copper cylinder, and inside that, an iron rod, pitted by the passage of centuries. On the surface, it looks like a simple vessel, but look closer. This assembly, dating back over 2,000 years to the Parthian era, bears a chilling resemblance to a modern electric cell. When researchers filled a replica with something as simple as grape juice, the ghost in the machine flickered to life. A current, a steady flow of electrons, 0.5 to 1.5 volts. Electricity in the ancient world. Think of the implications. Thousands of years before Alessandro Volta or Michael Faraday were our ancestors harnessing the invisible forces of the universe. Was it used to gild jewelry in thin, ethereal layers of gold? Or perhaps for something more esoteric, to shock the uninitiated during sacred rituals, or to dull the pain of a surgeon's knife? Mainstream history calls it an anomaly, an accident. But the Baghdad battery sits in the dust of the museum, in quiet, cold defiance. A silent testament to an age of electrical experimentation that history was never supposed to remember. How much more have we forgotten? Now, let us leave the dust of the desert floor and ascend to the skies of ancient Egypt. The year is 1898. Deep within the cold, silent tomb of Padi Imen in Saqqara, archaeologists reach into the shadows and pull out a small, wooden secret. At first glance, it is humble. 6 inches of sycamore wood with outstretched wings and a tail like a bird. For decades, it was tossed aside, a toy, a ceremonial trinket, just another bird in a museum full of ghosts. But look closer. Look at the shape. This is not how nature carves a bird. There are no legs, no downward slant to the wings. Instead, the wings are perfectly horizontal, and the tail is vertical, standing tall like the rudder of a modern glider. In 1971, a man named Dr. Khalil Messiha saw what others had missed. He built a replica. He felt the weight of the wood, the curve of the wings, and when he let it go, it flew. Not like a bird, but like a machine. It carved through the air with the grace of a modern aircraft. Could the builders of the pyramids, the masters of stone and star, have also been the first to conquer the wind? Was this a child's dream of the clouds, or a remnant of a lost science of aviation? The Saqqara bird sits quietly in its glass case in Cairo, its wooden wings still yearning for the sky. It whispers a truth that our history books aren't ready to tell, that perhaps humanity took flight long before we ever learned to walk in the modern world. Close your eyes. Can you hear the wind beneath those ancient wings? Cursed, close your eyes and let the winds of time carry you back to the year 1513. In the heart of the Ottoman Empire, Admiral Pharaohs sits over a parchment, ink staining his fingers as he draws the world. On the surface, it is a masterpiece, but look closer. Look into the shadows of the ink. This map depicts the jagged coastlines of West Africa, the lush curves of South America, and then it shows the impossible. A fragment of Antarctica, stripped of its ice. The air grows cold when you realize the truth. Antarctica was not officially discovered until 1820. And yet, here it is, not as a frozen wasteland, but as land, raw, real, defined by a coastline that has been buried under miles of crushing ice for over 6,000 years. How could a man in 1513 see through a mountain of ice using only a quill and ancient scrolls? Pharaohs himself whispered the answer to history. He didn't find it. He compiled it from maps so old they belong to the 4th century BCE, or perhaps to a time before history was even written. Does this map hold the ghost of a lost civilization? A people who sailed the global currents when we thought man was still primitive? Or does it point to a time when the world was shifted, when the great white South was a green paradise? The Pharaohs map is not just paper and ink. It is a silent, haunting testament. A message from a forgotten age telling us that our world is far older and far more mysterious than we have ever dared to imagine.